Hello, everyone. I think by my clock, we're at 6:30 at this particular point in time. Bienvenue à tous, bonne soirée, bienvenue à tous à cette audience en ligne pour la ville d'Ottawa, le comité de dérogation pour la ville d'Ottawa. Welcome, everyone, to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment. My name is Anne Tremblay, and I'm going to be your chair for this evening. With me also this evening are my fellow panelists, Mr. Scott Hindle, Ms. Julia Markovich, and Mr. Colin White. Also with us this evening and always at the panels, beck and call are our committee staff who do a tremendous job. Mr. Michel Benmar, our Secretary Treasurer, Ms. Emily Manette, our coordinator, Ms. Cheryl Williams, and Ms. Mandy Nguyen. And if that wasn't enough, we have, in addition to that, also some wonderful planning staff who help us out in answering questions. We have Ms. Lucy Ramirez, Mr. Cameron Hodgins, Ms. Cully, and Ms. Nancy Young. So welcome, everyone. Before we begin, a couple of things. First, you'll note that this hearing is being video conferenced and live streamed on YouTube. If you want to access this video later, you're welcome to do so. And you can also access the agenda for this evening at your leisure. You need only visit the city's website and look for the Committee of Adjustment. All of that information is there. If you can't find it for whatever reason, please don't hesitate to contact committee staff and they can help you with that. Also, I would like to just note that there's a few things that this committee can't do. So the issues of planning and development are quite broad, but the mandate that the Committee of Adjustment has is really quite narrow. We only deal with certain applications under the Planning Act, which are most notably the consents to sever and the minor variances, and now more often also permissions. So in discussing the applications this evening, there's a couple of things, a couple of areas that we can't go into. First off, we do not want to talk about aspects of the development that are not actually part of the application before us. So if there's anything in particular that is not something that you care greatly about in that development, but doesn't happen to have a requirement for minor variance, in those cases, we really can't talk about some of those issues. We can't talk about noise or pollution or property maintenance or property values. That's outside of our jurisdiction. We also can't talk about prosecution for illegal construction because we deal with everything as if no construction has occurred. We also will not entertain any personal comments about either an agent, an owner, a neighbor, anyone involved in the hearing process. Finally, the committee cannot consider any additional minor variances to an application. And we also can't consider any material increase in the relief sought to a minor variance that's before us. So with that, as part of the statutory process, public notification requirements in a form of a sign must be posted on properties, and associated with that is a requirement for statutory declarations about that sign posting. We don't have any of those written statutory declarations with us this evening, but we will be administering either the oath or an affirmation about the sign posting as we deal with each of the applications. With respect to quorum, we've been lucky, knock on wood. We have never lost quorum since we've been online. That said, you never know. We're only 4 tonight. If we lose 2, then we've lost quorum. And if that happens, and we will try and wait for the technology to resolve itself, but if it can't, then whatever items have not been dealt with by the committee will then just simply be scheduled to the next available Committee of Adjustment hearing date. So listed on the agenda, it was posted on screen before we got started this evening, were essentially the applications that we will be hearing tonight. There's no rhyme or reason to that order. It really comes down to first in, first next on the list. The committee chair, myself, can change that order, but I don't think we'll need to do that this evening. There isn't anything that's hugely contentious. So with that, the process that we follow is that we will invite the agent to come forward. In some cases, we will ask for a presentation. In other cases, we will simply ask questions of the applicant to get essentially clarity on the application. We have had a chance to review those applications in depth before we get here and all the material on file. But sometimes there's some added information for clarity that's required, and the committee has the opportunity to get that clarification from the applicant. Once we've done that, we will open the public hearing portion, and at that point, anybody who has an interest in the application will have the opportunity to speak to the committee. And tonight we have two members of the public who are registered to speak, but that's it. Nobody else on my list. It doesn't mean that you can't speak. You can absolutely speak to the committee. Just to ask, though, that because you're not pre-registered, that you leave us your name right from the beginning. So we're going to start with your name. May need you to spell your last name. And then we'll move on to your municipal address, and the floor after that will be yours. Once you're done, the committee might actually want to ask you some questions just to make sure that we understand the nature of your concern. And from there, we close the public hearing portion after everyone's had an opportunity to speak. And then the committee gets to deliberate on what it wants to do about a particular application. And as you know, the applications can be granted, they can be refused, they can be reserved, which is in exceptional cases where we have an application that's contentious and a lot of new information comes forward. Or we can adjourn the application, which I believe we have a couple of applications for that this evening. In terms of the decisions, the committee makes an oral decision for the most part, unless we reserve. The oral decision is part of the hearing process tonight. And after that, within 10 days of the hearing, there's an official written decision that is circulated to anyone who has an interest on the matter. So if you want to receive a copy of that decision, you need only contact committee staff to do that. Once that official written portion is in fact mailed, all decisions of the committee are then subject to a 20-day appeal period, upon which time the decision can be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal. And that's for a fee. There's a cost to doing that. So we can go on to just items of business before we get started. Does any member have any declarations of interest, either on any of the items tonight on our agenda or on any of the committee's previous two agendas heard earlier today? Anyone? All right, so for the record, there's no declarations of conflict of interest from anyone. We also have some minutes to approve. We have two sets of minutes. So I'd like a mover for adoption of the May 5th minutes. Do I have a mover? Ms. Markovich. And do I have a seconder? Mr. Hindle. And for the minutes of May 19th, do I have a mover to approve? Mr. White, seconded by Ms. Markovich. Great, that takes care of those two items. So next is the adjournment requests, and we do have two applications that are related, number 6 and 7, for 264 Breeze Hill. So I'm looking for Mr. Polton, I believe, to speak to that request for adjournment. Good evening, Mr. Polton.
Good evening.
All right, so we've read some material, but we'd like to hear from you the reasons for the adjournment. And it was your request, right?
It was our request, yes. With me on the Zoom call today is Murray Chown with Novatech, and he wanted to speak to the adjournment request.
All right, Mr. Chown. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chair, and thank you. So let me start by acknowledging that Ms. Cully, on behalf of the Planning Department, initially had requested an adjournment of these applications. She had raised some concerns with respect to the interior side yard setback over the course of time, and more specifically over the course of the day today. I think we've satisfied Ms. Cully that the buildings that are under construction today fully conform to all of the required setbacks in terms of front yard, rear yard, and interior side yard setbacks. So although she, on behalf of the department, had asked for an adjournment to deal with that matter, I believe, has been resolved, and she obviously can speak to that. I think she may have informed the committee accordingly. The reason we've requested this adjournment, Madam Chair, is there is another variance that we have determined that is required, and we only determined that after the applications were filed. In April of this year, the city further amended the comprehensive zoning bylaw through what was considered to be kind of a housekeeping amendment on some of the infill 1 and infill 2 amendments that were passed by council in October of last year. And one of those changes was to actually increase the minimum required width of the pole of a flag lot that is being severed. And that increase was from what was 1.5 meters at the time that this project was initially approved by LPAT, and at the time that building permits were issued. At that time, the minimum width of the pole was 1.5 meters. The requirement as of April of this year was increased to 1.7 meters. So we are faced with a situation, Madam Chair, where the building permits and the buildings that were all issued properly by the city do not conform to that provision where a severance is being proposed for the flag lots. That is to say, to sever off the rear unit of a long semi from the front unit of that long semi. So we became aware of that a couple of weeks ago. We have in fact filed applications with the committee. They were filed on Monday, and I know that I appreciate that committee staff have been scrambling to prepare a notice for those minor variances for the hearing date of July the 7th. And so, subject to confirmation of everything I've just told you, we would ask that the committee adjourn the consent applications to your next to your hearing on July the 7th.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chan. That's in fact what our understanding was as well. Does anybody from the panel have any questions about this? No? All right. Before we move on to decision, does anyone in the audience want to speak either for or against the adjournment request? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So committee on the adjournment to July 7th, all those in favor? Okay, so for the record, the decision to adjourn to July 7th is unanimous. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now. Okay. That's going to take us right to the top of our agenda, starting with application number 1, 1239 Donald, looking for Ms. Beliveau. Okay. The name I have as agent is Monica Beliveau. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, she was unable to make it. I'm stepping in for her. My name is Abby Pack-Nathan, and this was confirmed with Emily as well.
All right. So, Ms. Manette, do you have this gentleman's full name and work address for the records? Just want to make sure.
Yes,
okay,
yes,
perfect.
I do.
All right, perfect. In which case, then we won't go through that. There is no declaration of signposting, so I'm going to have to read something to you, and then I'll need you to respond. So, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days prior to the hearing, and that the sign was at all times clearly visible and legible. Do you either swear that to be true or do you affirm that to be true?
I affirm that to be true. It was posted on June 1st, 2021.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, we're not going to ask you for a presentation on this. We've seen these kinds of applications before, but before I say much more, I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Does anybody have any questions then of the applicant about this? Pretty straightforward. Okay. I don't have anybody on my speakers list for this item tonight, but is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this or has an interest in this application and would like to either oppose it or support it? Okay, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So committee members, all those in favor of granting the application? For the record, the application is granted unanimously. Thank you very much. I think that's it. I don't think we need to discuss anything else. It's pretty straightforward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. Good evening. All right, number 2, we're looking for 76 Britannia Road. And I believe the agent is Mr. Lucic. And you'll forgive me, you can tell me how to pronounce your name. All right, do we have the applicant? Yes. Good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thanks. Just so I can get your name right, how do you pronounce your family name?
It's Luchka.
Luchka. All right, thank you very much. I won't forget that. So again, we don't need a presentation from you this evening, but we also don't have a sign posting from you. So I'm going to need to read something and then I'll need you to respond. So do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted first on the property to which the application applies, secondly, that it was posted for the prescribed number of days prior to the hearing, and then finally the sign was clearly visible and legible for the entirety of that time? Do you either swear or affirm that to be true?
I swear that to be true on all 3 counts.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Again, no presentation required for this one. I'm just going to note, though, Mr. Lutic, for record purposes, there are some fairly significant changes to the notice that we need to read into the record. So I'm going to run through this, and then you can tell me, you can confirm whether or not I have it right. So, for example, the original request was for a minor variance / permission. We are now working on an application, which is a permission application. So we are striking from the notice everything that starts from, in order to proceed, the owners require the authority from the committee for a minor variance / permission from the zoning bylaw as follows. And we're deleting all of A and deleting all of B. We're going to replace all that with the following text. The owner requires the permission of the committee to expand the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling unit, which would appear to be a legal non-conforming use in the R1O zone, to permit the construction of a 2-story rear yard addition and carport. Is that correct?
Agreed, 100%.
Perfect. One more change, I thought. Hang on, just want to make sure I don't miss anything. The legal description. Maybe it wasn't for this one. I just want to make sure we don't miss anything here. No, okay, no, it wasn't legal. That's it, I think. No other changes to the notes. So on that basis then, committee, I'm opening it up to you to ask questions of our applicant, Mr. White.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Am I correct in understanding that the plan and the dimensions that are mentioned in the application with respect to particularly the side yard setback have not been confirmed by any plan of survey?
No, that's not true. Actually, there is an existing. It's old, but there is an existing survey that was stamped years ago.
Was that part of the submission?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
That was at the City of Ottawa Building Inspection Branch, February 10th, 1972.
And the Ontario Land Surveyor's name is?
Zoning checked by, and there's a signature there, City of Ottawa.
It would be the.
I don't-
it would be
I don't
the
know.
box at the bottom of the plan that would have the surveyor's information.
Yeah,
Company.
that unfortunately isn't on. Actually, just hold on a second. Let me see if there is one.
All right, while Mr. Litka is doing that, Ms. Ramirez, can we ask you the same question? Are you comfortable, Ms. Ramirez?
This is the original.
Okay. Did you submit that to our coordinator by any
Yes,
chance?
I did. Absolutely. That went in with the full package.
All right. Ms. Manette, are you able to bring that up for us?
Madam Chair, I don't seem to have that. I can look through our files again and see if I can find a digital copy.
All right, okay. I'm going to make a call to Ms. Ramirez. Are you with us this evening?
I am, Madam Chair.
So Ms. Ramirez, to Mr. White's question about the reliability of the survey that you were provided, can you give us a little bit of your thoughts on that?
I did pull compliance reports, and so I saw some surveys there, but I'll just have to double check on what how they line up. So if you give me one moment, I can do that.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I've got.
All right. Ms.
And
Manette,
then-
can you?
Can I inject a little bit more here?
Madam Chair, you've been muted.
Now, how did that happen? Who muted me? All right, Mr. Litka, did you want to go ahead and speak? I think what I mentioned is, yes, if you want to add to
Yeah. So
the provenance of this.
yeah. So the engineer. This survey was created by the engineer responsible for this application, for the drawings for this application, for the working drawings, and that was this survey was created based on the pins on the actual location and reference with from the original site plan submitted in 1972, the one that you put up.
All right, thank you. Mr. White, did you have any follow-on questions?
Madam Chair, I don't see a surveyor's certification on that plan. It appears to me it's a building plan as opposed to a survey. And it's a
Yeah,
site-
it says site plan on it. Yeah, I would agree with you on that. So it's
Yeah.
not really a survey plan at all.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My only concern here is that we're dealing with a rather limited tolerance as far as the proposed side yard goes. It's somewhere in the range of 1 foot. And staff have also indicated some concern with the potential for problem with respect to the site alteration bylaw, and that's with respect to drainage and grading, lot grading and drainage on adjacent properties. I'm concerned that if the plan is not, if our approval is not based upon survey information that's sufficient to alleviate that concern, that I think I have a problem with the application as it stands at the moment.
All right, thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Litka, do you have an up-to-date survey at all? You know, you're going to have one done one way or the
Yeah.
other.
So again, sorry, this site plan was done by a P engineer. He was on site according to the existing pins for the corners of the property. And there is a structural engineer letter that goes with it where he takes the responsibility for the drawings.
Yeah, it's still not a survey though, Mr. Lutkin. I think
Right.
it's very clear in our
Yeah.
application requirements that a survey, an up-to-date survey plan be provided. But I'd like to hear back from Ms. Ramirez because I know she had a close look at this.
Yeah, okay.
Through you, Madam Chair, I did look at the 1973 survey, and there the inside yard setback, the interior side yard setback is where the carport is going. It is showing up as 10.4 feet, which is 3.17 meters.
All right, that's to the existing structure prior to carport.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. All right. And are we, and I guess, so Mr. White, yeah, go ahead, Mr. White.
Madam Chair, did I hear that there was a survey upon which the original development was based?
Madam Chair, there is the 1973 survey that shows that the interior side yard setback for where that carport is going is there. There you have it, right there. The coordinator has put it up that it was 10.4 feet, which translates to 3.17 meters.
And I guess then based on the dimensions of the proposed carport, you were able to ascertain that in fact, the dimensions are correct based on that. All right, okay. Mr. White, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did see a surveyor's certification on that plan, so that I think it's fair to surmise that the development plan, the plan of, I'm seeing that that survey plan shows a dimension to the building. Is that the building as it exists today?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So the proposed additions then,
The right side of Britannia Road.
so the proposed additions are to the building as it's shown on this plan that I'm looking at right now.
Exactly.
Okay. Madam Chair, on that basis, is provided staff is satisfied that the 0.3 meter setback application that's applied for here is satisfactory. I don't have a concern. I just did not see this survey plan earlier.
All right, thank you. No, it's a fair point, Mr. White. Now, this committee has been faced with a number of situations where no survey was actually provided as part of the application, where it's very clear in our requirements that it needs to be. And it needs to be because we actually want to be sure that when we have, when we're giving these approvals, that in fact, they are accurate. Okay, good point. At least we got that cleared up. So good. Any other questions then? Mr. Hindle.
Yeah, I just had a question for the applicant. When we talk about, there was mention in the staff report of concern over water drainage potentially onto the neighbor. Can you tell us which direction that the pitch of the roof for the carport is facing? Is it front to back split, or does it go out to the side?
That's a good question. I was going to follow up with Mr. White's comments. It's a gable roof running from front to back. And the key here is we'll require east troughing or water drainage. So the idea is that the fascia has to be at least 4 inches away from the property setback, so that it allows us to put the east trough system along with a downspout and a leader, so that the water runs down the driveway to the street as opposed to jumping off on the neighboring property.
Okay, so you're confident you'll be able to keep the water drainage contained to your property, it sounds like?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And then my other question, I noticed, so it's the footing is about a foot from the edge of the property line, but the actual top end or the roof of the carport goes really to 3 centimeters away from the edge of the property line. Do you have an agreement with the neighbor to access, at least for the construction of the carport, or are you confident that you can construct it?
Yeah, I'm gonna, can you see this photograph?
Not quite.
Not so much, no.
This is the existing, this is taken just a couple of weeks ago when I posted the sign. So it's the right unit of a semi-detached. It's a shared driveway. And the key here is to, like I said, just to keep the east trough system within the lot line. Doesn't project past the lot line.
Yeah, Mr. Handel, did you?
Yeah, I think my concern though is just when you are building a structure, you do have to kind of walk onto your neighbor's property to swing a hammer and to do that. Do you have an agreement with them to?
Not that I'm aware of. At this point, I'm not aware of that, but there definitely won't be any disruption to the neighboring side of the property. But by all means, to have a couple of guys working and accomplishing the task is going to require, some walking and some being on the neighboring property, on their side of the driveway for sure. We'll have to establish that.
So have you spoken with the neighbors? Are they aware of what's going on?
Yeah, as far as I know, yes, the neighbors are very friendly with the homeowner, Alana Mellinson.
And they've seen the drawings. They understand the timelines for construction.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else from anyone?
Nope.
Okay. I have nobody on my speakers list for this item, but does anyone in the audience want to speak either for or against on this application? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So all those in favor of granting the application? All right, so for the record, the application is granted and it's unanimous. So thank you very much for providing clarity to the committee on this.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Good night. All right, application number 3, which is 77 Côte des Neiges Road. And I believe we have Mr. Saint-Louis as the applicant or agent this evening. Good evening, Mr. Saint-Louis.
Good evening.
All right, I'm just looking to see if there's any changes. Before we do that, again, no signed declaration from you, so I'm going to have to read this to you.
I actually sent in a copy of this today, but I can affirm just as well.
Okay, so for the record, I need to read it, and then I'll let you respond. Unless, Ms. Manette, can you confirm that you have this stat deck for this application now?
We received this form, but it was not signed by a commissioner of oath.
All right, so we're doing this verbally. All right, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was first posted on the property to which the application applies, that it was there for the prescribed number of days prior to the hearing, and that the sign was clearly visible and legible the entirety of that time? Do you either swear or affirm that to be true?
I affirm.
Thank you very much. Again, we're not asking for a presentation on this application. We understand there was some last minute scrambles to make sure that the application wasn't adjourned. I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Anyone? All right, so Ms. Ramirez, can I just speak with you maybe a couple of minutes? Just want to confirm that you in fact did receive, like, this is the information that we have, but I want to hear it from you, that you're satisfied with the revised tree report. Ms. Young's had a chance to look at it and we're good to proceed.
Madam Chair, thank you for the question. Yes, we received revised plans and a revised tree report. Staff expressed initial concern with the impact and suggested perhaps that tree 3 could be retained as it was. We received more information from the arborist. We also looked at retention of tree 5, and as tree 5 can be retained, we are satisfied that with the revised tree report.
All right, excellent, thank you. Okay. Okay, so if the panel members don't have any further questions, I'm going to open it up to the public. Again, no one on my speakers list, I think. Yep, no one on my speakers list. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this application? Now's your chance.
Madam Chair, I'd like to speak. It's Nancy Wilson.
Yes, Ms. Wilson, please come forward. Just for the record, I'm just going to ask you for your municipal address.
Okay, 16 Withrow, Nepean, Ontario, K2G2.
All right. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Wilson.
I just wanted to say, I just wanted to put a good word in for this developer, because this is the kind of development that we are looking for in our neighborhood. It's the character that we consider to be what we have in City View. It's also really nice to have a developer approach you a month and a half or 2 months before the Committee of Adjustment meeting to go through what's going to happen on that site. So I just want to give kudos to him for that. This is the kind of person that we like to work with. We don't like the last minute surprises where we're scrambling all over the place. And I feel sorry that he had to do all that scrambling today. And that's really all I wanted to say. And also to congratulate him on his baby girl this morning at 4:40 in the morning, apparently. So if he seems a little tired, that's probably why.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Wilson. We do appreciate the positive comments. So well done, Mr. Saint-Louis. And is fatherhood new for you today?
No, I have a 2-year-old that was around for the whole thing, so.
Okay, all right. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
It's very good news. Mr. White, I see your hand is up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just note on the City View Community Association aspect of things, I do note that there was a letter submitted that expressed the traditional ongoing concerns with respect to this type of development, the minor variances that are required with respect to lot width and lot area, and a number of the again concerns that have been expressed on many occasions. And quite frankly, I share a lot of them with respect to the adequacy of infrastructure, the concerns about parkland, and also the fundamental concern that I have with respect to the consistency or lack of consistency with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw as it was originally drafted and as it continues to exist since 1962. There's been nothing done to the bylaw to bring it into the context of the new official plan and the intensification policies, etc. I wonder if Ms. Young might be able to just comment on that. Do they still share those? Do they still have those concerns, or have they been dissipated by this application?
Mr. White, it's a question you're directing to Ms. Wilson.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Ms. Wilson, are you?
Mr. White, we still always have those concerns for any of the houses or development that's going on in here. We sent the letter in, we always say the same thing about the 50-foot lots and all of the things that don't meet the regulations in here. There's lots of them, and sometimes we don't give up. We keep always reiterating the same thing. But tonight we didn't think that we would speak on it. We sent it in to you guys so you know that we still have those concerns. But like I said, this developer is a developer that lives in the area. He's building houses that are what we consider character houses for this neighborhood. And we can't fight this 50-foot thing, as we know, because every time we come to Committee of Adjustment, it always gets passed through. So yes, we still have the same concerns. We think the zoning is all wrong. They need to update things. If they're going to put 50-foot lots, they need to update them so that it says 50-foot lots. The setbacks need to be updated. All of this stuff needs to be updated, but it's not yet. And we do have the same concerns always, and we always state them, but we aren't making a stance tonight because Mr. St. Louis is what we want to see in here. He's the builder that we want to see, the kind of builder that we want to see. He's cares about the neighborhood. He's in this neighborhood. He's staying in this neighborhood, and he builds nice houses. So that's all I can say. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Ms. Wilson. Much appreciated again. All right. Is anyone else in the audience want to speak to this application before we close the public hearing portion? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So, committee, looking for a decision. All those in favor of this application? All right, so Mr. White, your hand's not up, but it is up. So if you can lower your hand. Oh, thank you. So now I know you're dissenting on this. And
Madam Chair, I say some words in terms of rationalization of my position again.
Please proceed.
Yeah, notwithstanding, I appreciate the community association's compliments with respect to the developer, but I don't believe that we're in a position to differentiate between developers and the way they do business as opposed to the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw as it's currently written. And I'm still not satisfied, as Ms. Wilson, I think, has indicated their concerns. I'm still not satisfied that the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained, and that the minor variances aren't minor as the bylaw is currently written. In my view, the city still needs to do some major comprehensive review of the zoning in this area to allow the variances of the extent that have been permitted over the last number of years. And therefore I'm going to be dissenting on this application again.
All right, thank you, Mr. White. Mr. Sandowee, the application still passes because you've got 3-1 vote, so the application is granted.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
Yeah, more just to make a comment. So like, this is not anything new for us. We've developed significantly in this area, and I share the same concerns that Nancy has in terms of lack of infrastructure, lack of an organized grading or drainage system in the neighborhood. Like, considering how much revenue is being generated by this neighborhood, you would expect some of it to stay in the neighborhood and go towards redevelopment of roads. Like, the roads in this neighborhood are terrible. So it would be interesting to put, like, I don't have the energy to do this right now, but it would be very interesting to calculate the amount of developments that have happened in this neighborhood, how much revenue has been generated just by development charges and permit charges, and figure out where that money has gone, because not a dime of it has been spent in this neighborhood. So I think, like, overall, the city prefers intensification because they want people to stay inside the greenbelt. They want less cars on the road. This is progress in most cities, but they make it difficult by changing the zoning rules. And like, it's pretty clear from a planning perspective, when this neighborhood was developed early on and separated into 25-foot parcels, somebody knew one day that they were going to be separated further into 50-foot total pieces of land. But the zoning still requires 60 feet. And like in Westboro, you can build a semi on a 50-foot lot. And that's permitted every day. It has been for a long, long time. We used to do that in Westboro. So I think, like, a good part of this is progress. It just has to be done in a responsible way. I think what would make more sense is for the collection of fees to be organized in a way that the zoning allows for this development to happen, if it happens in a responsible way, and that the money generated by the zoning stays in the neighborhood to better improve the neighborhood as a whole. So anyways.
All great comments. And all I can say is you should run for office, because I think you get a lot of support for your position. So I know you don't have the time to do that right now, but I think you're bang on a lot of what you said. So great comments. Do appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, I think that's it though. I don't think we need to, there's no conditions, there's nothing else. So we're going to wish you good luck with the project and with your new donor.
Thank you very much.
All right. Have a good evening.
Bye, you too.
Okay. All right. We've got application number 4 and 5, which is 187 Carlton Avenue. And I believe for this one, I'm looking for Ms. Smith as the agent for the application. Good evening, Ms. Smith.
Good evening. Madam
So I'm going to
Chair.
need to, just going to need to read either the oath or the, the declaration, the verbal declaration. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted first at the property to which the application applies for this prescribed number of days prior to the hearing, and that the sign was clearly visible and legible for the entirety of that time? Do you either swear or affirm that to be true?
I affirm it.
All right, thank you. So that done, we also have a couple of housekeeping amendments to the notice. I'm going to run through this, and you can just confirm them for me if you could. So on variance D, we have to permit a reduced lot area of 232.3 rather than 232.25 square meters. Is that correct?
The total is 15.2. Oh, that's the area you're talking about?
Yes. Variance D.
So look at so one side is 232.6 and the other is 232.5. Is that what?
Variance D, the reduced lot area from 232.3 as opposed to 232.25, which is what's in the notice.
Okay, I'm didn't know about this.
All right, Ms. Cully, did you want to speak to that modification, please?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. On the survey, it said that part 2 was 232.3, and that's why the adjustment was made to the notice.
Okay, sure.
All right, then for the record, we're making that amendment. Thank you.
Caught me by surprise.
Okay, I don't believe there's any other housekeeping amendments to take care of on this. So with that, no presentation needed, Ms. Smith. I'm going to open it up to questions from the committee. Anyone? No? Pretty straightforward then, it sounds. So if there's no additional questions on this, then I've no one, well, actually I do have 2 members of the public to speak on this. Ms. Heather Pearl, I can see Ms. Pearl is here, and Ms. Lynn Bankier. You can both come forward. I understand you are both in support of the application, but I'm going to give you, Ms. Pearl, the floor first, and then Ms. Bankier. So please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Heather Pearl. I'm co-chair of the Champlain Park Community Association. And for the past 13 or 14 years, we've experienced significant amount of infill in our community. And what we've done is develop some ways to collaborate with developers to try to get the best of all possible worlds. And we comment on all applications. Mostly we support them. And we feel that it is important for our community members and for the developers to know why we support. And in the rare instances when we do not support, we feel it's very important for everybody to know why not. And so I think we've developed a fairly good relationship with many members of the development community and their agents over the years. We're in a very small community. It's along the Ottawa River. We worked intensively on the mature neighborhoods overlay and the alternative provisions. And so we're fairly expert on locating stuff on the city website in terms of where all of the bylaws are. And we've kept up with the reviews and everything. And so basically we support this application. It has, we really appreciate the collaborative approach that Susan and Sapita have taken. We created a notice that developers can provide to all of the people in the 60-meter circle, which contains a photograph of the application, of what it's going to look like. And, you know, generally it meets all of the bylaw requirements except for area and width, which is very commonly done in our neighborhood, where many of the lots are 50 by 100-foot original lots. So we have we've had a significant amount of change over the past 13 years, as I said, but it's important for us to manage this change properly. So, as I said, we support it. We're happy to see that each of these new units is going to contain a separate basement apartment in our community, both on the R1 and R2 side of the neighborhood. Originally, primarily small single-family homes, and many of those traditionally had basement or upstairs apartments, and that's how people afforded to live in these houses, because housing issues, housing instability, those kinds of things are not new. I'm 72 years old, and I've seen all the cycles. And so I know that these things are not new. And so having additional apartments that are fitted in to our community, that maintains the green space, the green presence that we want, the backyards that kids can play in, this is really what we are concerned about. We want to have a community that people want to live in. And particularly with COVID, it's very important. We've seen how important it is for people to have access to outdoor green space. So this is a good move here. And you know, there are going to be more pandemics. They're one of the horsemen of climate change. So this is what we want, a neighborhood that people can live in, that they can raise their kids in. And we have a really nice park, so great for the kids too. And when we read the planner report, we did note the forestry recommendation that regarding the trees in the front yard. Now, we were aware that neither front yard tree, both our tree lilacs, was a distinctive tree, so we felt we could not comment on that. But we just want to make the offer that should the builder be interested, we have a committed environment committee in Champlain Park who work with a distinguished professor of botany from the University of Ottawa and the conservation chair of the Ottawa Field Naturalist Club. And if they are interested in obtaining advice on putting in a large tree, or a tree that will grow large, because obviously you don't put in a large tree, but a tree, a native tree that will grow large, I'm sure we can accommodate them by providing that information. And I'm happy to see that we've got service berries going in. They're native trees, beautiful trees. But if one side is going to be good for, you know, a big tree that will really shade the street, then we have the expertise to help with that. So landscaping and trees are very important to us. We also have similar concerns to the ones raised by your previous agent, that we also have concerns with the infrastructure. And we are in a community where there was flooding in 2019. It's pretty incredible when you see sandbags at the end of the street, and that's what's keeping the water out of the houses on a particular section, and that the storm sewers are so full that water can't go through them anymore. It's flooding into basements, even in the new semi-detached homes. So we really second the motion that we need some way of improving the infrastructure. We had sinkholes in our streets. Our streets are a mess. So we do need some way of ensuring that some of that money gets spent on the infrastructure, and especially since the city is really pushing for much more intensification. we are working on the new official plan with the other communities all through Ottawa. And we really hope that we'll be able to tweak some things to make it better, because right now it's not meeting the needs of the city. So
thank you very much. Okay, sorry, I thought you were wrapping up at that point.
Yeah,
so.
no, I am really wrapping up. Basically, at the end of the day, our concern is any builder, be good to the neighbors, please, because development is tough enough on everybody without, having strife. So be kind to the neighbors. Remember that we've got lots of kids here. There's a park just down the street from this development. And, watch out for kids. Supervise your trades, because if you do not supervise your trades, then sometimes you try to get away.
Ms. Pearl, I think at that point, I'm going to thank you. I think the 5 minutes is pretty much up, but what I wanted to say, though, is it's wonderful to hear positive comments and to hear how closely you're working with the developers in your neighborhood. You've got that communication. It is always music to the panel's ears when we hear that, because it means that there's integration and alignment between the interests of everyone involved. So thank you very much for your comments. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Pearl before we go to Ms. Bankier? All right, Ms. Bankier, please.
Good evening, Madam Chair and panel members. Thank you for this opportunity. It's our first time in front of panel 2, but actually the big secret is I'm really the other half of our Planning and Zoning Committee, but this is the second time I will be an abutting neighbor to one of these new developments that we have participated so strongly in addressing over the years. So I guess I'm a knowledgeable neighbor, and as such, I have read the Community Association's mission, and I agree with it, and I agree with what Ms. Pearl has said. As an abutting neighbor, I was very pleased to see that we didn't have to have a battle over this one, because we had an initial conversation with the owner, and we discussed a few an extra variance he might want, and I explained our position would be opposition, and he understood that and the reasons, and actually removed that before he even submitted to you. So it shows some of the value that we have achieved in that communication that you have commended with Heather's discussion. So I'm very pleased about that. I'm pleased to support this application, because except for the consent and the minor variances on lot width and area, it does conform to the rest of the bylaws, including the infill 1 and infill 2. So I'm really glad about that. I also am glad to see that on the tree landscaping plan that they are going to retain 2 trees that the bylaw doesn't require them to retain. One is a huge hedge at the rear, which is old and serves privacy value and is continuous with my hedge. And there's another much younger tree, but it's a very pretty tree. And they're going to retain that and plant another one. So I commend them on that also. And with regard to the communication, it's really important to communicate with the neighbors. I have submitted comments to them that don't apply directly to the application, but to my interests as an abutting neighbor in the courtesy during the construction process and communication, including things that, like making sure we understand exactly what's happening with fencing and that sort of thing as we go along. So that's about it. I hope to have a positive experience. It's difficult to be an abutting neighbor, and there's probably going to be a certain amount of bedrock removed, but it's much more pleasant for all concerned if there is communication with the owner, and he's evidently going to have 1 or 2 people on site that I can communicate with. So that I'm looking forward to. My first experience was horrendous. I won't even talk about that. But this one I very much hope will be much more positive and communicative.
Right, well, thank you so much, Ms. Banker, for your comments. Anyone on the panel? Excuse me. My apologies. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Banker? No? All right. I'm going to make a call out for anyone else in the audience. Does anybody want to speak to this application, either for or against? No. All right. So thank you, Ms. Pearl, Ms. Banker, for your comments tonight. Like I said, it is always so encouraging to hear positive comments back about the development industry. As you know, that's not a lot of what we hear. It's often the opposite. So thank you for making the time to come forward and provide your support. So with that, I think committee, we are ready to make a decision on both the consent and the minor variance application. So on the consent, all those in favor? All right, so for the record, Ms. Smith, the consent is granted unanimously. On the minor variance, show of hands, please, all those in favor. All right, again, we've got a unanimous agreement on granting of the minor variance application. So with that, good luck, ladies, with this project. Sounds like it's going to be an experience, and we look forward to having you back someday and tell us how it all turned out. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So, Ms. Smith, just before you go, you do know there's a number of conditions. You're aware of them, and you're in agreement with them?
Yes.
All right. Okay. In that case, we are done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right. We're going to go to application 8 and 9, which is for 985, 87, 89 Hollington Street. And I believe for that application, we have Mr. Webster.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see you at this point.
Oh, hi.
So, Mr. Webster, we don't have a stat deck for you, so I'm going to read the verbal and you can respond. So do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted first at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days prior to the hearing, and that the sign was clearly visible and legible the entirety of that time? Do you either swear or affirm that to be true?
I affirm.
All right, thank you. I don't believe the committee needs a presentation on this application at this point. You had an adjournment, Mr. Webster, if I recall, from April 7th, that's correct?
Yes, correct. Yes.
All right, and the adjournment was to ensure that we have the correct minor variances, all of that's in order at this point.
That's correct, and I followed up closely with Cameron, who was very, very helpful.
All right, thank you. In that case, no presentation, opening it up to questions from the committee on either the consent application or the minor variance. Anyone?
So I just want to confirm in this case, so this was built in compliance with an approved decision, and then it's just the consent portion that wasn't done within the 1-year time frame?
That's the original problem, yes. Oh, it's a true story. They had a house that was not demolished in time just to be able to start construction, so the consent lapsed.
All right. Okay. Any other questions from the committee? So, Mr. Webster, just from my standpoint, one of the things we often like to see is some lot fabric evidence. Do you have any with you this evening that we might have a quick look at? Because we've got quite a few severances. Some of them are.
Well, I have copies of the plans, but the city has them also.
All right. So did you submit a presentation that would have that in it?
Yeah.
I guess all I'm trying to, go ahead, Mr. Webster.
Well, I would suggest that maybe you could ask Cameron, because I've got the plans in my hands right now.
All right, so Mr.
But
Webster,
Cameron-
you know what, I'm gonna go to the coordinator. So Ms. Bonnet, do you have by any chance the lotting plan evidence that has been submitted by Mr. Webster?
Madam Chair, I believe all we have is a site plan. We can bring that up on the screen.
Yeah, Linda, I've lost the picture. Oh, there it is. That's the R plan, the reference plan.
All right, I guess what I was looking for is some lot fabric evidence from you, Mr. Webster. I was wondering whether or not
I don't
that
quite
had been submitted.
I don't quite understand what you mean by lot fabric. Although I am
just
an Ontario
examples in the neighborhood that would have similar.
Oh,
kinds of
they were all given in at by the original application 2-3 years ago. I'll just verbally explain to you that going east, there's a building that looks exactly the same as that one, and going west, there's 2 buildings on either side of the next street down that are the same. And the comments made by the committee indicates that it fits in with the neighborhood, is what I'm getting at. So the planning people feel it's lot fabric wise, it's normal.
All right, maybe I'll just get Mr. Hodgins, if you just would like to confirm that you had a chance to look at it and that in fact.
He'll know.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We did review the lot fabric independently and did comment on that. We didn't have any concerns with the lot areas proposed. We did note there's quite a few similar developments in the area, similar lot sizes, similar setbacks.
All right, okay. Okay, in that case, no more questions from the committee before we open it up to the public. All right, I don't have anyone on my agenda for this. So is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak either for or against this application? Now's your opportunity. All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So, all right, committee, I think we can go to a decision at this point. So all those in favor of the consent application? All right, so Mr. Webster, the application is unanimously granted. The consent application on the minor variance, all those in favor? All right, so Mr. Webster, both applications are, for the record, granted unanimously by the committee. On the conditions, there's a number here.
Yes.
You've looked at them. You're okay. So
Yeah,
we don't need to discuss it.
No problem. I'm just going to have to deal with the client, show them what they are, what they have to do, and guide them where to go.
Okay, we're going to leave that in your capable hands at this point. So good luck with the project, Mr. Webster.
And maybe in a month or two, I'll stop having dreams about this project.
Okay, well, I'm going to wish that on you. Now that it's all approved, maybe you can, yes, it could become something of the past for you.
This has been a heck of a journey. It's been a heck of a journey.
Okay, well, you're there. You've made it. So thanks so much for your time this evening, Mr. Webster.
Thank you, folks, too. Thank you.
All right, we're on to last but not least, application 10 and 11 for 127 Britannia. We got Mr. Chan and Ms. Shahzadeh. Yeah, Shahzadeh. Okay, thank you. I think I'm getting better, Ms. Shahzadeh. Oh, now I'm really not doing it.
The first time.
I'm going to practice because you've been before us before and I should be getting your name correct by this point. Okay, so no stat deck, so I need to read to you as well. Is it Mr. Chan or yourself that's going to do the declaration?
I'll do the declaration.
All right, thank you. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies, that it was there for the prescribed number of days, prior to the hearing, and the sign was at all times clearly visible and legible for the entirety of that time. So do you either swear or affirm that to be true?
Yes, I swear.
All right, thank you very much. Any housekeeping changes required? I have quite a few notes. Yes, I believe we do. So the first one, I'm going to get you to confirm this then, Ms. Shahzadeh, sorry. We are deleting minor variance D, which is in relation to the stairway projection. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. The building has been redesigned from the front to eliminate that variance.
All right, excellent. And also from a notice standpoint, the legal description needs to be amended as well to read Lot 14, regular plan 71, parts 13 and 14, plan 5R 11970. Is that correct?
I believe so.
Okay, you're accepting that change? Okay. Need to do that for the record. Get it in. Okay, all right. I think the committee would like to hear a brief presentation on this application.
Okay.
Who would like to, will you be taking the lead on that presentation?
Yes, I will. And we submitted a presentation to the committee.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So the applications before you today are applications for minor variance and consent on 127 Britannia to facilitate the retention of the existing detached dwelling, which is on the left of this image, and the development of a new single detached dwelling, which you can see on the right of this rendering. Next slide, please. So just some quick overview. The property is located in Ward 17 and it's within Britannia Village. It's close to a bus stop, some commercial and retail uses, and the Britannia Park and Beach and the Britannia Conservation Area. Next slide, please. So the proposal is to sever the lot into two parcels. The existing heritage dwelling will be retained, and a new single detached dwelling is proposed on the newly created lot. The variances associated with this is variances for lot width and lot area for both of the proposed lots. So the requirement for lot width under the R1 zone is 15 meters, and we are requesting a lot width of 10 meters for both properties. And variances for lot area, since the lot area in the R1 zone is 450 square meters, and what is being provided is just under 400 square meters for both properties as well. So going through the four tests, the first test is that the variances meet the general intent and purpose of the official plan. So the property is designated a general urban area in the official plan, which permits infill intensification in the urban area. Also with the official plan, since the property is located in close proximity to a heritage building, a cultural heritage impact statement has been provided as part of the applications. And the JIS concluded that the proposed development does not have an adverse impact on the cultural heritage values or character defining features of the neighborhood. Also, since the property is within 30 meters of an urban natural feature, EIS has been provided as part of this application, and it concluded that there will be no expected lasting negative effect to the ecological function of the urban natural feature. The second test is with regards to the zoning bylaw. So the proposed development meets the performance standards for setbacks. So front, rear, interior, side yard setbacks are all met. And the proposed building also meets the performance standards for building height. A smaller lot width and lot area will have no impact on the functionality of the site. So the requested variances meet the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is the draft reference plan showing the severance. So the part one on the left is the existing heritage building that will be retained, and part two is where the new proposed single detached dwelling will be built. Next slide, please. The third test with regard to the minor variances is that the requested variances are considered desirable. So the requested variances for lot width and lot area are compatible with the lot fabric of the neighborhood, as you can see in this image. There are many lots on Britannia Road and the surrounding area that are comparable in lot width and lot area. The variances are also compatible with the existing patterns of residential development along Britannia. And the property is also close to many neighborhood amenities, bus stops, and parks to enjoy. Next slide, please. And the proposed buildings, materials, and cladding are sympathetic to the heritage building and are compatible with the heritage building that is existing. So the variances are considered minor in nature. And the last test for the minor variances is that the requested, we can go to the next slide. The requested variances will not affect the functionality of the site and will have no impact on the streetscape. The variances allow for the retention of the heritage building on the property and fulfills city policies with regards to infill intensification within the urban area. So the variances are considered minor in nature. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that brief presentation. That's exactly what we asked for, so that's terrific. Okay, questions about either the consent or the minor variance application? Mr. White.
Just a quick one, Madam Chair. Did I hear that the existing dwelling is a designated heritage building? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And there was a cultural heritage review, I guess, done by the city.
That is correct. Heritage staff at the city did review the project, and we did talk with them before submitting the applications, and the cultural heritage impact statement was submitted with the applications.
And that's been approved by the heritage group?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions? I have a brief one, but we don't have any letters of opposition from the community or any of that. Can you tell me a little bit about the public consultation that you undertook for this application?
Our client did talk to neighbors in the area. So he talked to the abutting neighbors on either side and the rest of the neighbors in the area, and he was not met with any opposition from them.
Right. Did he actually provide some of the draft plans and some of the cross sections? Just out of curiosity, it's not a big deal, but
I believe he did show site plans and elevations of the project.
We've heard a lot of great stories tonight, and just the fact that there isn't any opposition here or a lot of questions from the committee. We've had like a lot of positive community developer sort of, I guess, announcements, or not announcements. I guess what I'm looking for is just it's just great that we're getting that kind of confirmation that this is happening and it's working well in our communities. So excellent. It's been an easy night for the committee from that standpoint. So, okay, if there's no other questions, I'm going to go to the public portion of this. No one registered to speak, but is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward at this point to ask any questions or share any concerns with the committee? All right, I'm not seeing anybody come forward. So committee, I guess we can go straight to a decision on both applications. So all those in favor of the consent application? All right, so we've got unanimous agreement in granting the consent application and on the minor variance. All those in favor? All right, thank you again. Unanimous decision by the committee on the minor variances. So just quick question, there's quite a number of conditions that are attached to the consent. No issues, you're aware of them?
Yes, we are aware of the conditions.
Excellent. All right, well, in that case, I believe that that concludes our discussion on both these applications. So good luck and thank you for your presentation this evening. And thank you, Mr. Chown, for also being here to support. Should we have had some difficult questions, which we didn't, so that's really kind of great.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
All right.
Have a great evening.
Not even 8 o'clock. For us, that's not bad.
Take advantage of it while you can.
Yeah, exactly. At least there's a nice long days. We can still all go for a walk if we want to. So with that then, committee, I do need an adjournment of the hearing. So do I have a motion? So motion by Mr. White and seconded by Mr. Hindle. So, okay.